Hello and welcome to a new season in iRacing. Now you may have noticed a distinct lack of iRacing content on my channel over the past couple of months, and there's a number of reasons for that, but mainly it's the cost. I decided to abandon my Skip Barber series halfway through last season because it was getting so expensive just buying all these tracks and then never needing them again after that race week. However, with the start of a new season, I did decide earlier this week to renew my membership just for a month to begin with, and I'm going to take a slightly different approach to iRacing this season. I won't be running a single series, mainly because I don't want to buy any more content. So instead, I'm just going to pick random combos each week depending on what cars and tracks I already own. For week 1, we're going back to the Rookie Series and the Formula V car. Now, I've never driven this open wheeler before, but I took quite a shine to it in qualifying. We put it 5th on the grid, and as you'll see here in our first race, we made an absolute cracker of a start. We got off the line really well and then got out into the middle of the track as quickly as possible, finding that gap between Shoot on the right and Alto on the left. Shoot just ran it a bit too close to the pole sitter Jacob Novi, so he had to ease off, and that allowed us to jump into second spot. So from 5th on the grid, we've gained 3 positions before we're out of the first corner. An absolutely fantastic start to my first Formula V race. However, in true CR Sim racing fashion, it doesn't last. We throw it all away inside the first half a lap, just clipping that curb on the inside, and with the cold tyres, there was no chance of saving it. I've got no one to blame for that but myself. An awful mistake, and we've chucked away second position. Yeah, here's the replay, and we did so well when the lights went green to get in front of those 3 cars ahead of me and take that second position, but it was a really careless mistake, just pushing a little bit too hard, took too much of that inside curb, and yeah, there was no saving that one. We rejoined the race in last position, but over the next 10 minutes we managed to battle our way back up into a fairly respectable 6th position, but then on the last lap we threw it all away again. I run it in way too deep into the chicane, and then bang, not 1 but 2 sausage curbs, and it's that second curb that does the damage. Crew chief reporting wheel damage there, and he's not wrong. The car won't steer. We can only drive it in a straight line, so we've got no choice but to unceremoniously end the race in the barrier. So yeah, after such an encouraging start to the race, it went downhill fast, but we can learn 2 valuable lessons from this first outing. Take care on cold tyres and avoid those curbs. So we're back on the grid an hour later for a second crack at the Formula V, and we've put ourselves in the best possible position. We've put it on pole with a qualifying time of 1:10.4. That's 0.7 of a second faster than I went in race 1. We're also more than 2 seconds clear of the driver alongside me on the front row, but we don't want to get too carried away about that because more than half the grid have decided against putting a qualifying lap in. So we know nothing about the pace of the drivers from 5th on the grid backwards, but we don't want to concern ourselves with that now. We've got to focus on making as good a start as we did in race 1 and getting to turn 1 first. We do get away really well as the lights go green. The rear tyres spin up a little bit, but it hasn't affected us. We've got a great drive heading into turn 1, and we're going to take the whole shot. There's a little bit of contact between the 2nd and 3rd place drivers in my rearview mirror there. That's going to work in my favour because already we've opened up a 0.7 advantage as we weave our way through these tight turns. Now we're in a really strong position here, so we need to learn the lesson from race 1 and not touch that inside curb. We do take it a little bit easier around there. We get through safely. Sam Gillam's the driver in 2nd position. He's only 0.3 of a second back now, and then we've got Christian Arola in 3rd as we hit this chicane for the first time. We get through that safely, but it looks like a couple of cars behind don't. There's a big puff of smoke that we just saw in the rearview mirror now, and look at the gap. It's more than a second back to Gillam. Oh, and as we head into the 2nd chicane, we do just shift down into 2nd a little bit early. You heard the engine rev its disappointment there, but we managed to hold it. These cars are difficult to control if you downshift too early. We got away with that this time, and look at the gap behind, 1.7 seconds as we head down the start-finish straight to finish lap 1. We're in a really commanding position here. So all in all, it was as perfect a first lap as you could possibly wish for. Qualifying in pole position, making the whole shot and then opening up a 1.7 second lead on the first lap. Here's a replay of the start and we get into turn 1 safely, hold that inside line. There's the contact with the second and third place drivers. We lose one car, and if you keep your eyes on the background, we're going to lose another one too, spinning the rear around on the exit of that long first turn. And as we come through this section, I was taking it as easy and as cautiously as I possibly could. After that mishap in race 1, we get through there okay, but the pack are closing. However, there was another incident in this chicane which gave us a bit of breathing room. Watch the car in third. He's just going to clip that inside curb and it throws the rear out. And he's going to be joined by several other cars. There's one. Another one just approaching into shot on the left. And then we're going to see a fourth car coming into the chicane and losing it. So we've lost nearly half the grid, all wiping out in that first chicane on lap 1. Back to the live action though, and we've still got a comfortable lead. That gap is over 2 seconds now back to Gillum, and we've now got Patrick Schmerker in third, but he's 3 seconds back. So we're going to approach this chicane for the second time. We saw 4 cars crash out on lap 1, so we've got to be really precise and not clip any of those curves. We get through okay again. However, some of the chasing pack aren't so lucky, and we can see my advantage grows even further as we approach the last few turns of lap 2. Patrick Schmerker has caught and passed Sam Gillum by the looks of it for second position, but they've obviously slowed each other down because that gap is only growing now. Schmerker in second is nearly 4 seconds behind as we charge out onto the start-finish straight to finish lap 2. 4.5 seconds is the gap. Yeah, watching the replay shows that it was those lethal curbs in the first chicane that claimed another victim. This time, it's the number 3 car, Ruben Dominguez, spinning out of 4th place. Meanwhile, ahead of him, Schmerker got a really good drive up over the hill. He's going to go around the outside of Gillum. It's a really brave move into the second chicane, but he holds firm, takes that outside line and takes second position. The pass did come at a cost though for Schmerker. It slowed both of them down and it gave me the chance to open up a lead of more than 4 seconds as we started lap 3. Well, we're going to fast forward the live action a couple of laps now and rejoin it on lap 5, and you'll see from the relative board in the bottom right that Schmerker has closed the gap down to 3.5 seconds, so he's pulled a second back over the previous 2 laps. Now, I make the mistake of concentrating too much on that gap and make a careless error again. I shift down into second too early, the car revs up too much, we lose the rear. Somehow we manage to save it and keep the car facing in a straight line, but we've lost a load of time. Look at that gap now. Yeah, I mentioned earlier in the video about the danger of downshifting into second too early in this car, and that's exactly the mistake I make here. We're completely out of control at that point. The rear has stepped out. We managed to keep it facing in the right direction and regain control, but we gave away more than 2 seconds to Schmerker. We're rejoining the live action at the start of lap 7, and Schmerker's less than 1.5 seconds behind now. We've got 3 laps of this race left, and we also know that Schmerker is lapping about half a second a lap quicker. So yeah, you do the maths. It's going to be really tight as to whether we can hold on to this lead over the final 3 laps. All I can do is concentrate on my own race, keeping it steady, hitting the apexes, holding my lines. Taking a bit of comfort from the fact that if Schmerker does catch up with me, Lime Rock Park is not an easy track to get around someone on. We work our way through that chicane and we get a bit of luck. Look at the relative board, that gap is increasing, so Schmerker has made a big mistake going into that chicane. Yeah, the second place man had just got to within 1 second of me, so he was probably pushing to try and close that gap even further, but he takes a big hit on that inside curb and he undoes all his good work. So yeah, the moment that Schmerker made that mistake, he effectively handed me the race win. We're just approaching the final turn now and we're going to start our last lap, but look at the lead we've got, 4.7 seconds. So we're in a really comfortable position here, and as crew chief says, we've just got to keep it smooth now for one more lap. It was a really big hit on the curb that Schmerker suffered there, so I'm suspecting that he might have picked up some wheel damage as well, which is going to hinder his lap times. So we know that all we need to do is just keep it slow and steady. We're just getting a bit ragged out of turn 1 there. He just saw us clip the inside curb, so we've got to do less of that. Avoid these curbs. We don't want to unsettle the car. We just want to keep it slow and steady. I'm not worried about setting a personal best lap on this final tour round. This next chicane has caused so many drivers problems during this race, so we've got to make sure we don't clip either of these two curbs. We do run it in a little bit hot and had to correct our line, but we avoided the sausage curbs. No damage picked up, so now we're approaching the final third of a lap. Into the second chicane section. We've just got to take it easy again, being careful not to shift down to second too early. We've got through there okay. Only one more turn to navigate now, so we're going to do it. We're going to pick up our first Formula V race victory. Now, because we quit midway through the season last season with such a high safety rating, we did actually get promoted to an A-class license, however with a fairly low I rating. But this win is going to make a huge amount of difference. We're going to gain plus 89 and take our I rating back into the 1300s. So a really encouraging start. And here we see the full classified results of my first race win in iRacing for a very, very long time. I'm certainly not going to get too carried away with it. This is only a rookie series and the strength of field was very low, but it is nice to be battling at the front end of the field again. So we've got a 1-month subscription with iRacing. That's going to take us up to week 4 of this new season. And in that time, we're just going to pick a few random combos depending on what cars and tracks I own. Give them a try and see if I enjoy it enough to renew. Let me know what you think, guys. And thanks for watching the video. See you again soon. Cheers.